Thank you. So, welcome everybody and good afternoon. And yeah, since there was already really good introduction what I am, then we don't need to go on to that. And I was thinking that before like really starting, I thought like tell that what my presentation, what's the structure of the presentation and what I'm going to talk about, and also a little bit this kind of like a structure with that how this time will be used. So my plan is to talk roughly 40 minutes, and then there would be time like 20 minutes for the discussion. And since you all have already read the description of the presentation, I'm not going back into that, but I was thinking that maybe like addition to into it, like thinking about the works and also kind of the concepts what I will show. I would maybe rather like describe it is as an ecosystem where I am doing my artistic research. So you get kind of like a brief overview of that my ecosystem, my world where I am, and then in the end you can have a reflection of into that, or we can have reflections together. So let's see if this works. Yeah. Do you think it could be possible to flip them other way around? No. Sorry, no. Okay, never mind. Yeah. So first, let's have a look a little bit to the under the hood, the technical environment of GAN and the sketches or diagrams that what is happening when I'm working with images or moving images, that what exactly is happening under the hood. I'm not. My plan was that I'm not going too much into the details, the technical details. Just showing some examples, and so the basic thing where what with the GAN is always happening is that we are like have a data set. In my case, it's my practice. It's images, and then doing this comparison of those images that are they fake or real, and then depending of what algorithm I'm using, the process of this comparison can take either hour or less, or then it can take like a day, for example, or 1 week in some cases. And also one important thing to mention is the evolutionary aspect of this artistic process, evolution of the images while I'm working. So example, in this image, what you are seeing right now, there is results of training, fourth training session with artwork Panic Breeder that I have been working with Summer Baumik, and the fourth training means that this like a process of that you have a data set, and then you do the training of the a GAN model, which may take few days, and then you look the results, and then you update the data set, and then you do the same process again and again and again. And these are the images from the fourth session of that. And yes, and then there are here you can see the list of the data, the numbers for me to overview during the training session. So kind of to get the understanding of that how is it happening. And here is parallel overview with graphical data on the left side of the image, and then the visual output. So it's kind of like an actual image. It's sort of like an image of like what is going on right now, but of course it's just I'm working with the video here, so it's just a one image. But it's kind of like giving the idea that what's happening in the training session. And this is actually quite new thing. We have been testing with Hannu Töyrylä, so he was coding me this, and it's using the Wisdom server. And yeah. So going to the really early experiment, this was with what I was starting. This low resolution, some wires and so on, just testing something and be really excited of that. Like, and then of course some selfies of myself, and maybe I would say that the feeling when I was doing this self-experimentation with the selfies, I could imagine that there has been a little bit same kind of feeling with example with Robert Cornelius when he was doing the first photograph images and developing the images and seeing yourself on those images. That it was somehow like really fascinating, even despite I have been working like quite a long time with the media arts, that there was something like a feeling that this is something like completely new. Yes, with this great excitement towards something new, I made quite a lot of experiments with different kind of visual data, paintings, photographs, etc., 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 and coming into all kind of weird compositions of combinations of these, like experimenting with the data sets, having like different kind of type of images in one data set, and then looking for the combinations of those and so on. And with this example of experimenting with the movements, it's possible. The image is looking from the left up corner to the down right corner. It's basically the evolution of the training session and also like evolution of the image. So you can see how the progress of real and fake is going on, and also you can see, or my realization was that while seeing this evolution of the image, it's also obvious that it's also like possible to create animations out of that, which is kind of not. It's one way to make art out of that. It's not the only way. And here are some still images of those experiments with and maybe from the right image it's possible to see that there is some ice hockey images being on the data set, image set used. Okay, and then 2018, actually quite soon when I was starting, Big Gun was released published by Google DeepMind research group. So what is Big Gun? It's a large-scale gun training for high-fidelity natural image synthesizers. Okay, it may sound like total nonsense for most of the people, but if I say that you get a much better resolution with the images, it makes much more sense. And the idea, one idea with the Big Gun was to get the better image quality with these experiments with the gun networks, and also other thing, of course, when looking these images, is of course to realize that it gives a possibility to create a potentiality to create a really complex compositions with the images. So idea how the Big Gun works is that there is hundreds of different image categories, like different races of dogs and architecture, environments, people, musicians doing different kind of things, etc., etc., etc. And then mixing these categories, it's possible to create new images. And what you can also call it is that you are surfing on the latent space of Big Gun. So every time you end up like one individual image on this what you are seeing here is basically a point in this latent space. It's one like a vector point. So it's like a huge space with almost endless amount of points to reach out. Yeah. So what we are looking here is morphing video where you are going through these latent vectors from several points, and then it's creating a video out of that, and then you are like looping on those points. Then here is another example. This was done in cooperation with Hannu Töyrylä, and on these animations, they are also made with the Big Gun, but the starting point with each animation was that I created, I had the photograph of something, and then Hannu made the program where which was trying to seek for the category of that image from the Big Gun, and have that like a starting point to start like surfing in this latent space. So the animations you are seeing here are something like 250 frames, and example the image on the right down corner with this fossil. It's basically a trash I found from the street. So kind of the program failed, since the theme is error. So program failed, but because it's created this fossil, it was maybe really interesting. The failure becomes like really interesting in like in artistical sense. Yeah, and then I started I started to work with the selfies 2018, and it was also, so this work was also shown in the Mu gallery. So how the images are created, it's using this kind of like a fairly basic gun script based on DC gun. One of the early versions that Hannu had been developing and kindly shared with me for these image experimentations. And maybe with this project, of course, there are like two interesting factors. If I go on with working with this, is of course the one that I, as an object, I will get older, which is obvious, like in most of the self-year projects. But then the other is that the second factor is that the algorithms used with AI, of course, becomes better. So what should I think about it? I can, through the AI, I can look even more precise that how we like get old. No, just kidding. It also means that the nature of the images will, of course, change. So basically, they go all the time more into the probably direction of more realistic images. Yes. Well, of course, we can't know it yet because we are not in the future yet. And here is another project with the faces. And this had the starting point with this one was the images created with the Style Gun project, where most of the research are coming from Aalto University, NVIDIA researchers. So basically, the data set consists mostly of these artificial images of human faces. And here is, let's see if it works. I have also my mouse. Oh, no, it doesn't. Maybe I let it run. I was thinking that I could scroll it, but maybe it doesn't work. I must think that it's not coming active here, but maybe it's running now. Oh, okay. So we move on. That was the error part of the presentation, and kind of the anyway. This is actually much more interesting. The next step. So I continued with the faces on an album. The idea with the name, it's a reference to the age and also like everlasting time. It comes from the medieval Latin. And with this, I also continued with the faces, but more like adding new ingredients to the data set with the use of soil and all kind of like a mycelium and so on and so on. Is this working? Wow, yeah. Autoplay is working. So the way it was presented in the this was also in the Mu Gallery exhibition, and the way it was presented there was that the images, I was using the grid of images basically because of the resolution, and then the images are slowly shifting with using the processing sketch, like one by one, and I don't know. I still think it's I kind of like this project because there's really this kind of like diving deeper in this face idea with the faces and going more into the abstraction of those faces, like reaching the different kind of natural patterns. I think the correct word would be Turing patterns and so on and so on. But if you want to see the full-length video of this, it's available on also on my Vimeo account. Then something else. So this was done with the algorithm called FOM, and I made quite a lot of experiments with this. So the basic idea here is that you have a still image, and then you have a video. So in this example, I don't know. Well, we don't have this connection to speak with people, or it's a little bit maybe unpractical, but. So it's David Bowie and Jesus, the combination. Luckily, David Bowie has died, so so yeah. At least this created a lot of amusement on social media. Of course, it doesn't make any sense, but it was interesting to try it out. And I made a lot of different kind of experiments with that. And here is another one where I was using style fixer made by Hannu Töyrylä. So it's based on the ideas of using the style gun, or style transfer, not style gun. Style transfer, where you're using, you have a photograph and then you have some kind of materiality. For example, it could be a painting, and then your photograph becomes a painting. And in this case, I was using texture found from the big gun. And then the images are from earlier gun experiment with the Finnish politicians. And I don't know, it looks interesting, but somehow, yeah, maybe I should go on with that one. Okay, but then let's go to the project that I'm working right now, Fatum. And the basic idea with this project is that I'm using different kind of moving images or photographs in a series, creating a moving image, and then what the algorithm is trying to do is trying to predict that how that moving image should move on. And I have been working with this since May 2020, and been experimenting with a lot of different kind of image data, images, videos, kinetic videos, 3D videos, etc., etc., etc. And also one of the ideas with this project is also, at least in the beginning, was also to kind of to take the advance of the failures with the algorithm, because of course what it's doing with predicting these next frames, it's not doing that in a perfect way. So let's have a look at a few examples of that. Oh, and yes, I started to do the watercolor paintings also, but they are not here. It's working. Yep. So hopefully you can see it also to your home studios, that especially with this one, I like the metallic grid that it's created to the video. And it also, I somehow, on this one, I was really excited. It felt somehow that reaching some kind of essence of neural networks or something, really this kind of poetic way. This could be also for the discussion part, like a tricky question that if someone can recognize that what was the material on this one, to teach the neural network. Yeah, it was really short one. Let's see that if we can get it back. Oh, no, I'm failing with the technique. So let's move on. So on this one, I was using 3D, and then I also realized that, of course, because I'm working with lights, that I can use the lights with the 3D, and I was really excited of that. This was partially accident that it became like this, because I was really happy of the accident, like that. Oh, yeah, it looks really cool. Even I'm saying it myself, but a lot of colleagues also were saying that it looks really cool. So I have to trust in this kind of like, yeah. Okay. This is not publicly available, so this was kind of like a first time it was shown to bigger audience. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, I know the image it's horrible, like it's super horrible, but that's the reason why I wanted to include it with this presentation. And it's an image made with the deep dream. I think it's the online version. Just take a selfie of yourself and play around with the, you can make it in less than 1 minute. But the idea that why and what it is doing here is of course that it's showing the relation of the relation of the algorithms in the creative process of AI, that working with artificial intelligence, that the aesthetics of the creative processes are really well, of course, in this case, it's really underlined into the aesthetics of the image, but like getting the point of that, how challenging it might be for the artist to use these different algorithms, because basically in the end, the aesthetics can be really same, even the human artists are different who are using these algorithms. Here's one example of artist or not really like artist, Jonathan Fly, who does a lot of this kind of like experimenting with algorithms and making this kind of quick experimentation, which I would say that it's one of the nature of this expression, like artistic expression with AI. So like making these quick technical attempts, not necessarily like artworks, more like just trying out that, okay, if I do this and this, it comes out something like this. An example that 3D landscape of Jack Pollock painting, it's, if you haven't seen it, I recommend to see it because it's quite mind-blowing thing. But then like in the art, idea of artwork, of course, then like how and why, it's totally different question. Where we get logically into alchemy, that are we somehow having these really long cycles of that even now when we are in something completely new with artificial intelligence and so on, but at the same time, the processes, the creative processes are somehow reminding of this time of alchemy, that when we're using these algorithms, we sort of know that what we are doing, but at the same time we don't. And in that sense, you could say that it little bit reminds this kind of like medial times of using these different ingredients and putting them together, and then you see that, okay, there comes out something, and I kind of know that why, but then on the other hand, there are ingredients I can't explain, and necessarily not even any researcher could explain them. And yeah, of course, like thinking AI in a broader context in the society, we are approaching this kind of really interesting times, like using the AI for predicting something, but some of these like methods that how we are using that are necessarily like not really increasing the equality in the society, but rather they are taking us into the backwards direction on the progression on the society, which is necessarily, of course, not the good idea with that how to use the AI. But in link to that, divinations, I don't know, maybe, let's see if it works, yeah. Maybe this example has something. I can say that when I saw the results, I was like super excited of that. So the image you quickly saw in the beginning, that was just a random image I took in Töölönlahti while I was on my way home, and then I feed it to the algorithm that I was using, and then it created these neural sparks and all these strange colors which don't even exist in the original image, and also this what you call it, this kind of really warp effect or something. And so on. Okay. So one of these kind of like, and also reason why they gave money from me from Kone year ago. At least I have this strange sort of like a fantasy idea to do the future about AI, that I think that in upcoming years, first of all, of course, artists are going to use more and more of it because the tools are becoming easier and easier. But then also, I believe that when we are approaching the AGI, artificial general intelligence, when it will happen, 2040, 2050, something, then what kind of art we are creating with the AI, and also the idea of the role of that, who is the artist, and who is making art and who's viewing the art. And of course, now we are still in the point that, like think, always going back to the Duchamp and the fountain, that thinking about the classical work by Marcel Duchamp, Fountain, and why it was made right now for AI, example like thinking about GPT-4, the gigantic text model created by, was it Google or something? And then you can create poems and everything. But of course, it's all of that. It's partially, it's total nonsense because AI yet can't understand this kind of like a really complex conceptual relations between different things. So if it would see the image of a fountain, for it's just an image and nothing else. So one of the ideas of I have had is like the lower part of this memory traces is idea that could it be possible somehow to record yourself while you are like flesh and blood, and record yourself as a data for AI, and for that it would be later on possible to replicate you based on all those different documentations, and or replicate you or do whatever you want to do, and so this is again done with the phone, but kind of like somehow I felt when I was watching this that it's just this kind of like a physical realization of what I was doing, that it was kind of like an image of neural network or something. Yeah. And then Brains on Art, this project, like they think about this relation between AI and art. That one method, of course, it would be to like teach AI what is art or what is not, and maybe later on it would say that what is art for a human being, like that you don't know like what it would be. And here the perspective is turned like other way around. So we have a algorithm icon which was creating these 2D images, and this was a blindfold test in Switzerland, in this one really famous art fair, Art Basel, and was shown people images of like real art, human art, and then this AI art, and people couldn't like make the difference of those. So of course, one question is that should we be at some point start to think about like redefining the creativity? Because now how we are defining the creativity is based on the factor that the artist is human artist. Like example, Brancusi on the studio and making some really amazing sculptures with your hands, or then this kind of like kind of fairly banal idea of a robot artist who for some reason happens to be a woman always, and then making some painting, which is also a cliche, but that what maybe this could be a part to discuss on the discussion part, like that what would it mean to redefine the creativity? That what is it necessary even to do that, and how? And of course that AI, there's no identity AI. It's always this mistake on the media to discuss about identity AI. It doesn't exist. It's just a piece of code somewhere. But if there would be like identity, can that create something when it's just a chunk of code? Like, can it really understand what is it doing? And yeah, but okay. And then this kind of one of the future branches, I would say that it's that you are using, of course, a merged AI on your phone. Like, so this is me and my girlfriend, but the images are like turned obviously upside down with the face swap application. So the idea of also this that who is artist everywhere Joseph Beuys and so on. And maybe one idea to play around is the concept of fake AI, like make artworks where you actually don't have any AI, but you're just saying that you have AI there, and then people, and to what it is related is naturally to in this like this discussion in the contemporary art, like of narrations related to artists and the artworks. That many times we are maybe more fascinated about the story related to the artwork than what the artwork actually is about when you put it into the pieces. So in this example case, Kureniemi's robot was cursing, but it was just a tape which was doing the cursing. And then one branch is, of course, to go into the neuroscience and like predict, use the human to create the images just by using the neural network. So this is example from Tokyo. Similar has been done by Helsinki University, and then based on the research work, the actual artwork was done it was shown in Serpentine Gallery 2018 by Pierre Hugh. So the idea is that the test person is watching images, and then through the neural network, you are like recreating those images, and on the left side, you can see the progression, the evolution of this, that how the neural network is working. And of course, last but not least, Erkki Kureniemi, probably many of you know this project, that Erkki started in somewhere before 2000, and the idea here is, of course, to recreate yourself at the point when the AI has reached the level that it is possible to create a person based on the digital archives. And from this, I started to think this kind of idea that when this is actually happening, I believe that it will happen one day. I admire Erkki Kureniemi so much that I believe that he is right. He will be right, and it will happen. And I started to think that it's kind of like this kind of like merging of the artist and the art, because the virtual Kureniemi will be the artwork in itself, naturally. And a short text I wrote to wrap up this this kind of like going really far to the future is the kind of the closing text I was planning to say. Okay, so what will be the art in year 2050? Does it even really matter to know yet the answer? Medium in itself will become the art. It will grow like an autonomous mycelium. Art merges with the nature, which again is already merging with the technology. Even though what we consider as nature or artificial, we become one. It is the relations which matter. In this context, with relations meaning all universal, living and non-living. So it can be anything. In this sense, we roll back into the medieval times with divination and augury, seek for signs of something different, signs of the becoming, something what is elsewhere and other than where we currently are. Thank
Thank
you.
you.